Hey, what's going on, guys? Rob here, and welcome back to the Omakecast channel. Today is a very special day because I'm introducing a new show on this channel, a new person on this channel, and that is my pal Noah right here.
Hey guys, what's up? Noah here.
So the purpose of this podcast is that I am the Weeb, and I'm basically going to teach my friend here Noah, my friend Noah here. He is mostly a film guy, so I'm going to introduce him the ways of the Weeb, basically. That's why it's called Way of the Weeb. And today's first episode is about Mary and the Witch's Flower, which is the recent Studio Ponic film, which is a subsidiary or sequel to Studio Ghibli. And I feel like this is a very fitting first episode because it's something that Noah's more familiar with because he's seen all of the Ghibli movies. Am I correct about that?
You are correct. I am a massive Ghibli fan, particularly Miyazaki fan.
So,
those are my favorite films.
So I figured like that would be the perfect way to introduce the show.
I agree.
Or introduce him to more animes through Ghibli in this first episode. So, Mary and the Witch's Flower. We're going to start with our spoiler-free review of it. Noah, you start off. Tell me what you think of this movie.
I went into Mary and the Witch's Flower expecting it to be like Kiki's Delivery Service because, you have the witch and she has even the black cat. And, I figured we got a nice Kiki successor here, but that was not the case. And I was pleasantly surprised on where the film ended up going. And I can honestly say I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I completely agree with you. I was the same way. We were talking about this before we went into the movie, that there is a lot of similarities between, well, at least the aesthetics between Mary and Kiki, because first of all, they're both young girls, both witches. There's a black cat, fantasy world. It seemed very similar, but it turns out the story are kind of polar opposites, which is very interesting. You have this one witch who is actually a witch, which is Kiki, and she's losing her powers, and she doesn't seem to have much magic powers. She doesn't seem to compare much to the other witch. She's very lackluster. But then you have this Mary who becomes a witch, and she's very talented at it as soon as she gets her powers. So it's almost a complete polar opposite in storytelling. And I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah,
and I was glad they went that way, definitely.
I would also say that Mary is much more plot-oriented. Like, it's focused on the plot. Kiki was more kind of situational, like kind of going about different encounters she would have with people and how they would help her. But Mary had a very specific plot, and it was on its course, and, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was good. Like, I'm going to say this right now, like, if you like Ghibli movies, you will like this movie a lot. But it's not going to... It's not going to be like anything Miyazaki made, of course.
Nowhere near Miyazaki level. And to be honest, it's more lower tier Ghibli level.
Yeah.
But, lower tier Ghibli is still pretty damn good.
Yeah. It feels like a Ghibli movie.
It definitely does.
Yeah. And if you're going into this movie without like the Studio Ghibli name attached to it and you're a fan of Ghibli, like, don't worry about it because it is basically a Ghibli movie with a new name attached to it. And this movie features several different elements from other Ghibli movies. Like, it reminded us of different Ghibli movies throughout watching it. There's definitely a lot of nods to past Ghibli movies and stuff that Miyazaki did, especially in the movie.
Yeah, Spirit Away definitely is in there. And a little bit of Castle in the Sky and Ponyo.
And what's great about this movie, which I really appreciated, was the return to fantasy in the world of like a Ghibli-esque movie, because we haven't really seen that in a while. It's probably since Howl's Moving Castle. Ponyo kind of, but like Howl's Moving Castle was like the last fantasy Ghibli movie we got.
Wait, wasn't Arrietty in 2010?
Yeah, but it didn't have like magic, It was just kind of It wasn't like focused on magic,
Yeah, not magic, but it was a little bit of a fantasy.
Yeah, but I definitely think this is the like the latest high fantasy Ghibli film,
Yeah,
which is
because
something
like
I've been
when you
craving.
think of like last Ghibli, it was like Marnie was there and Wind Rises. Those were very grounded in reality, but this
Yeah.
is definitely a return to the fantastical storylines.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely really enjoyed that about this movie.
Yeah, it
Definitely a
was a nice
nostalgic
return.
trip. Is
Yeah,
the
I would
best way to
agree.
describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Character-wise, I wasn't really fond of many of the characters personally. They were just kind of
They're
there to
kind of
drive the plot forward, honestly.
yeah. You're kind of just they show you these characters. They don't really develop them, although they probably do develop Mary the most out of everyone, which is
Yeah.
kind of a given. But the rest of the characters have next to no development. There's a cool thing they do with one of the characters at the very end, but kind of adds some depth. But and I really like that. But overall, this is not a character oriented film, and you don't really walk away thinking, "Oh man, I love these characters" like you do with Kiki or any of the other characters from Ghibli
It's
films.
very similar to Ponyo, where this movie is made for younger kids.
And it was based off of a children's book.
Yeah, which is true. It's definitely made for kids, but it's more of a visual spectacle is what you'll get the most out of this, because it is the most gorgeously animated, like one of the most gorgeously animated Ghibli-esque movies that we've gotten. The character movements especially, like you can tell a difference between this and something like when Marnie was there, which was the latest Ghibli. Like Wind Rises probably is the closest that came to these two in style or in animation quality. But that's definitely one of the best things. Another thing I noticed is actually the lighting in this movie, which was a lot different from previous Ghibli movies. It seems like it's different. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, I don't know if you noticed this.
You
But,
know,
like, the shadows
can't-
and stuff seem like a little bit more detailed, I guess, if that makes any sense.
I can only say the moment where I really realized lighting was that opening scene where you see
Yeah.
some shadows in there. But no, I was not really paying attention to the lighting. I cannot say that.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments in this movie where they're walking through a forest, or if it's like the sun is coming down, where you just see this really detailed lighting into the frames of animation. Like it moves as the sun goes up and down. You can see it through the characters' faces and stuff. And I thought I like appreciated that. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, I can see why you'd appreciate that. It's definitely a welcoming touch.
yeah, this movie is very polished in terms of animation. Like that's
For
one
sure.
thing that
And-
you'll get from it.
You know, probably one of my favorite parts is you can tell how polished it is immediately from that fantastic opening that just throws you right in.
It throws you right into the world, and it's like a welcome back. Basically, you're back in the world of Ghibli. You know.
Yeah, I would agree. That is a nice boom, we're back, baby.
Yeah, it just it literally just jumps you right into it, like just like the snap of your fingers. It's not like a slow start. You're into it. You know. You
Yep.
see it. And that's one thing. Another thing about this movie is like there's always something going on. It's not really the beginning. Like after that opening shot, there's a little bit of slowdown, but then it just gets right back into it. The plot just drives forward constantly. It never seems slow. There's not really a scene that I thought was particularly unnecessary about the film. It just worked really well.
Yeah, I would agree. It's pretty fast paced after that opening.
So yeah, that's basically all I have to say about the movie itself. I think it's a 7 out of 10 movie. It's not the best Ghibli movie. There's definitely other stories that are like this, and there's definitely other stories that are better than this. But I think this director has proven himself to be one of a kind.
You know, another part I wanted to touch on was I was not expecting it to have a kind of Harry Potter aspect to it.
Yeah,
which
with
was
the school.
which is a surprise, and that kind of was a major source of my enjoyment because there's a good chunk of the film dedicated to introducing Mary to this magic school and all these different classes that they take and how she's skilled at them. And
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that, and it was really cool and definitely put it apart from Kiki's delivery service.
It
And
like Spirited Away, the world of this movie made me want to learn more about this world. Like there's stuff that I wanted to see more that this movie didn't offer, like the student life of the school. You don't really see anybody other than the two like the headmaster and the professor those are the only two characters in the academy that you really learn about. All the other students there are like just nothing really. Like, you just don't learn anything about them. Like the world of this magic, the world that this magic world provides, you don't really learn anything about it other than it just exists. And it's that mysterious aspect about it that like drives your imagination about like the world of this film. And that's something that I think Ghibli movies do really well, and this movie does as well. Like Spirited Away did that same thing. I always pondered about like what else is this world like. I always questioned things. I wanted to learn more about it, and that's what this movie did. It really does drive your imagination forward. And
it definitely feels like a world that existed before the film.
Yeah,
there's lots of potential history in it, and yeah, I like that.
It's just interesting, like stuff like Ghibli movies that do that. I love, like Howl's Moving Castle does that. Like there's like a society there, and you don't really necessarily learn about it. It's just there. It just puts you in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just puts you in its world.
Yeah. Now we're gonna talk about how this movie compares to other Ghibli movies. Basically, I'm gonna let Noah talk about that first.
So, as I said before, it's definitely, like, comparing it to other Ghibli films, it's definitely in the lower tier. Now, for my lower tier Ghibli, I'm talking about, the lowest of the low is definitely Tales of Earthsea. And then stuff like Cat Returns and, like, Whisper of the Heart and, like, My Neighbor the Yamadas, which are movies that I do like, that are good. But I would probably put it in that tier, not Tales of Earthsea, but definitely in between that middle tier of like My Neighbor the Yamadas and When Marnie Was There and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree with you completely with that. If this movie was a Ghibli film, that's where I would put it. Mm-hmm. Like I think it doesn't really do anything unique enough about it to make it soar above anything else other than that. Like what you see in this movie, you've seen before in other Ghibli films. It doesn't really particularly do anything unique storytelling-wise. It's just more of what you've already seen, and it doesn't really do it at that same level of quality that something like Miyazaki has done before.
Yeah. I'd say it does a good job of meeting the standards you would expect from a Ghibli film.
It's really a return to form.
A Ghibli film, not a Miyazaki film, but a Ghibli film.
Yeah. It's a return to form. It really is what it is.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it. Like, you will, if you're craving to see more Ghibli, like, look no more further than this. There's stuff like Your Name and The Boy and the Beast, which try, like, like Hosoda and all those films that everybody says is the next Ghibli, the next Miyazaki. Well, they might be true through the success they're getting, but I don't think as a film they're really emulating that same feeling that Ghibli films do.
They're much more mature than Ghibli films.
Yeah, this film here is more of that
childlike wonder. Yeah. The childlike wonder you get from a Ghibli film, this is it. It's like, exactly.
Yeah, so this, like people saying, oh, the next Miyazaki, there will never be that. But this is probably the closest thing that you'll ever get.
Yeah, and we're getting more Miyazaki eventually.
Yeah, with the release of How Do You Live?
How do you live, How do you live?
But is there anything else you have to say about this, Noah? This film?
I just gotta say, very good film. If I got to give it a score or a 10-point meter, I'd probably say 7.5 because, when it comes to these films, I really, if the animation really captivates me, it kind of pulls me over and kind of throw it a bone because it's just so beautiful to watch. The story isn't the strongest thing in the world, but it's entertaining enough, and I fucking love that animation. So I'd say 7.5 out of 10.
I agree with you. Maybe I'd give it like a light 7 to a strong 7.5, something like that. I just, that's what I agree with. It's what you expect. So watch this movie definitely, especially if you like Ghibli. You probably didn't click on this video if you didn't like Ghibli. So go ahead and watch it. And also,
hey, if you have a friend who loves Ghibli, send the video their way. Say, hey, check out these weebs talking about Mary and the Witch's Flower.
Yeah. Go ahead. Might as well. Like this video.
Might
subscribe.
as well.
And also...
Comment.
Yeah, also comment. But more than that, we have an announcement to make. We are planning to review every single Ghibli movie.
Oh, yeah.
And we're at the end of this, we're going to rank them all. Starting from Totoro, because Nausicaa... I don't know. We haven't decided this yet if Nausicaa, we should count Nausicaa. But I feel like we should, but we'll decide.
And, I mean, if we're lucky enough to get some comments, let us know. Should we include Nausicaa? Should we include Lupin the Third, Castle of Cagliostro? What do you think? Let us know.
Yeah, because if you guys actually want that, we'll do it. But if not, we'll just start from Totoro and go the whole way to when Marnie is there.
Yeah.
And that's all we have to say. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya later.